Chapter 38, verse 1. We're going to start with the story of Yehuda and Tamar. Vayeishev, and it was at that time, and it was, hold on, let me just say it. Vayeishev, and it was at that time, Vayered Yehuda me'etz Achav, and Judah went descended from his brothers. Vayet ad ish Adulami, and he went to an Adulamite man whose name was Chira. Okay, so the background is that Judah was just involved. He took a leadership role in not stopping the sale of Joseph. He stopped him from being killed, but he didn't stop him from being sold. And Joseph was just sold. And now, right after that, the very next thing we talk about after Joseph was sold, and his father says, "I'm going to go down to my grave crying." Very next verse tells us that Judah was at that time. And Rashi says, Lama nismacha parsha zulakan. Why is this passage juxtaposed at this point? Meaning to say, it didn't necessarily have to have happened right now. It's just telling us it happened now. Why? Lama nismacha parsha zulakan. So, meaning to say, Rashi's saying it could have first concluded the narrative of Joseph and then returned to this sale, to this incident with Judah and his brothers. So why is it here? So Hivsik beparasha social Yosef Lame is to teach us Sheridu Echav Migdula, so that Judah lost his greatness at this point. Kisherau b'tzaras avim, when he saw the distress of their father. When they saw that their father was in trouble and he was in pain, and they said, Judah, you were our leader. Amru ata marto machro, you said, what benefit we gain out of killing a brother? Let's sell him. So you're the one who said that. Ilu amarto lo shivo, if you had said to return to him, ainu shomim lach, we would have listened to you. So basically, it was the time where Judah had descended from his position of authority, from his position of prominence. So that's what happened there. So the pasuk tells us, and he went down until an Adulamite man whose name was Chira. Rashi says he left from his brothers, went to an Adulamite man, Nishtate, he became his partner. We never seen a partnership like this in the Torah until now. How so? Rashi's telling us he didn't become his brother, but he did become his partner. He made a partnership. Now, until now, they were only partners with their brothers, but now he's a partner also with the Adulamite man. Ayarsham Yehuda. Well, it doesn't. Their word. There's no translation here that says befriended. There's no word here that means befriended. Later on, we're going to see the word friend. But right now, it doesn't say the word friend. Right now, it doesn't say the word friend. In fact, this is the first time the word friend is going to appear in this chapter, but he has not used it yet. It has not appeared yet. The word friend, yeah, but it has not appeared yet. In this verse, it doesn't appear. So he says, Vayarsham Yehuda Bas Ish Kenani. Judah sees there the daughter of a Canaanite man, and his name was Shua. And he took her, and he was with her. So he sees Bat Ish Kanani. So at this point, it seems like from the literal text that Judah is marrying a Canaanite woman. But Rashi does not accept that, and based upon the Gemara, they said it can't be a Canaanite because Avram specifically said you can't marry a Canaanite. So here he says the word Canaanite means a merchant. That's what it means. That means Tagra, it means a merchant. It doesn't mean an actual Canaanite. That's what Rashi says based upon the Gemara in Pesachim. So that's the approach of Rashi. So some people are. Why does the Torah need to tell us that Judah took? If that's the case, asks Rav Nachman of Chernobyl, if we adopt Rashi's approach and the Gemara's approach that this was not a Canaanite but just a merchant, and they were using the word Canaanite to mean merchant, why does the Torah have to tell us that Judah married a merchant's daughter? I mean, why is that relevant? So what's the point here? So the Gemara so Rav Nachman of Chernobyl is telling us, how is it possible that Judah, who was one of the, the leader of all the tribes, the founder of the Davidic monarchy, how did he give birth to children like Er and Onan, who were sinners? According to the Torah, they were bad in the eyes of God. So the answer is that Judah didn't try to get the right wife. He just took somebody who was like a Canaanite or the equivalent of a Canaanite, like a merchant. And so he basically went for the money and not for the right wife. And according to, and that's why the one who came from Tamar was not from that person. And so that's the story there. So it's mentioning the point that he married, that's where the problems came. That's the point. That's where the problems came. The problems came from the fact that she was the daughter of a Canaanite. And she gave birth to a son, and she called him Er, which means to awaken. Like Judah seems to be like in a deep depression here. And she called the next child Onan. Then she gives birth to a third child, and she called him Shelah. And he was in Ksiv when she gave birth to him. Rashi says Ksiv is the name of a place. And Rashi says that's why it's mentioning this place, because that's when she stopped giving birth. Ksiv is like a failing spring, like Achsav. She stopped being able to give birth. I mean, just think about, like there's some creatures some mothers, when they give birth, they die in nature. Most of these women knew that giving birth was like just such a risky endeavor. They were giving birth, basically risking their life. As in this story also, because she's going to have to die in the end of this story because she's pregnant and she has twins. You can't survive that in the ancient world. Nobody survived a C-section ever. But I guess in this maybe she survived it. But okay. So she was in Ksiv. And Judah took a wife for Er, his firstborn son, and her name was Tamar. So Vahi Er b'chor Yehuda ra b'nei Hashem v'miteu Hashem. So Er, the firstborn of Judah, did bad in the eyes of God, and God caused him to die. So Rashi says, wherever it says Vayehi, and Rashi says, what was his bad? What did he do wrong? He did exactly what Onan did. He destroyed his seed. Shenemar ba'onein hayamas gam ono kamisa social error. So it says Ono also died. So Ono died like Er died. So they died in the same manner. So why? So we know why Onan destroyed his seed. He didn't want Tamar to become pregnant so that she would carry on the name of his brother. But why did Onan destroy his seed? So Kadesh Shalotis. Why did Er destroy his own seed so he didn't make Tamar pregnant? So the Rashi says, Kadesh Shalotis Aver, v'yachish yafya. He didn't want her to destroy her beauty by becoming pregnant. He thought she was more beautiful without being pregnant. This, to my mind, is like the approach of people who say we don't want to have children for whatever reason. We don't want to have children because it'll affect, like our ability to advance professionally. Let's say people will make a conscious decision not to have children because it's going to impact their life, their material life. And that is against the Torah. The Torah says that there's a mitzvah to have a child. Not everybody has that good fortune to come their way. But there are people who intentionally, consciously make the decision that they want to live their life without having any children. And that's like the sin of Er. Er is the one who intentionally made the decision not to have children because he didn't want his wife to look pregnant. So Rashi says that was his problem. Okay, so Judah says to Vayomer Yehuda Onen Bo Eshes Achecha. So Judah says to Onen, go with your wife of your brother via Bemosa. Hey, grab a chumash, and cause her to have yibum. Vakim Zerah Achecha, and uphold the seed of your brother. So basically, Judah says to Onan, go and do levirate marriage with I like the hat, Ezra. I like the hat. So we're chapter 38, verse 8. He says, go have levirate marriage with your brother. Chapter 38, verse 8. Basically, what's levirate marriage? Okay, you know which one the chumash is? Yeah, okay, good, Ezra. So he says, go be with your wife of your brother and have levirate marriage, and that way you'll be upholding the seed of your brother. Rashi says, Vakim Zera. How will you be upholding the seed? The son will be called by the name of the dead one. Meaning to say you're just going to give him that name. Doesn't seem to be such a big deal. But he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. Vayeda Onen, and Onen knew, Ki lo ya zera. Onen knew that the seed would not belong to him. Vayam Baal Eshes Achiv, Meshichet Arza Levilti, Nitan Zera Achiv. And so he knew, so Onen knew that the seed would not be called for his brother. So basically, every time he was with his brother's wife, he spilled the seed on the ground, so he wouldn't be placing the seed for his brother. Hey, Kobe, how are you doing? Good. Verse 10 here, right here. Vayera b'nei Hashem asher asa, vayamas gam oso. And it was bad in the eyes of God, that which... How you doing, Moshe? Come on and grab a chumash, Moshe. Yeah, of course. All right. Chumash. Yeah, put it in the warmer. Yeah, put everything in the warmer. Do you know how to turn it on? Yeah. Of course. I would love that if you guys ate the chicken and stuff. Did you put it in the warmer? Just do me one favor. Whenever you're done, clean up after yourselves. I don't want to have to clean up. I don't want to have to clean up after you. Elon, let me just tell you, as sweet as you are and as kind as you are and as generous as you are, That's as messy as you are. No, I would say that's your. You know what? I'd rather somebody who's a little bit messy, but is the nicest boy in the world. That's you. No, you're definitely not evil, but you will do leave your cups behind after you. But you are a great guy. You know the maid? Me. I'm your maid. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be your maid, but I wouldn't mind if you remembered sometimes. There you go. Thank you, Eli. No. Okay. All right, let's go on. So he says, Vayomer Yehuda Tamar Kalato. And so Judah says, we're in chapter 38, verse 11. Basically, I'll explain the story to you, what's going on here. Okay, let me explain it to you. So this is the source actually of a lot of the future of the Jewish people in this chapter. So the chapter begins with Yehuda, after Joseph was sold in the previous chapter, and the brothers. I'm just giving you Rashi's explanation. The brothers blame Judah for this. They say Judah let it happen. And so therefore, since Judah let it happen, as a consequence, they kind of exiled him. So he went down and he formed an alliance with a different person. And the man whose name was Hira. And there Judah married the daughter of a merchant whose name was Tamar. Not Tamar. He married the daughter of a merchant, and the person he married was it doesn't say her name, but he married the daughter of a Canaanite whose name was Shua. So at that point, Judah has three children with her: Onan, and Onan, and the third one is Shelah. So he has the three children: Onan, and Shelah. Now at that point where he has Onan and Shelah, the problem is he gives Tamar to Now did not want to make Tamar pregnant. Why didn't he want to make Tamar pregnant? Because Rashi says, David, you could grab a chumash over there. I'm studying the Rashi. It's my brother-in-law, David. Didn't want to make Tamar pregnant because he to the left. Oh, you found it anyway. Whatever, you can find it. So he didn't want to make Tamar pregnant because he said if she's pregnant, she's going to not be as beautiful. That's like a very sinful logic. It's like people that are worshiping their own bodies at the extent of doing their responsibility, which is to have a child. So, is it an avera? It's certainly the abandonment. There's a positive commandment to have a child, but is it a negative commandment to not have a child? I don't remember it being a negative commandment. But here, there's a negative commandment to spill your seed. So it's a bitul aseh. You've lost out the ability of doing a positive commandment by intentionally deciding not to have children. But if you intentionally spill your seed, that's a negative commandment. So this man was doing both. He didn't want to make his wife pregnant. Rashi says because he didn't like the way she looked when she was pregnant. And so therefore he spilled the seed on the ground. So then God killed him for that. So that seems a little bit harsh, but he died for his sin. So then who came along next? Onan. And Onan, he had a different reason for spilling his seed. His reason for spilling his seed was he didn't want the boy to be called after he didn't want the boy to be called after the name of his brother. So there's the understanding. Rashi says literally the name of his brother. He didn't want to name him after his brother. There's the idea that you're supposed to name the person after somebody who died. So maybe that's the source for it. But he didn't want to do that. Seems like a little bit of extreme, but he didn't want to do that. So therefore, what did he decide to do? He decided to call. So he spilled it on the ground, and so that's what we're up to. So, so that also God killed him. So he also died. He also died. So now we have a problem. So Judah, now there's a concept called a katlanis, an isha katlanis. You know what an isha katlanis is? That's a woman who's a killer wife. So a killer wife is a woman she has either two husbands who died or three husbands who died, and they've died in unusual ways. So at that point, she shouldn't really be able to marry. So Judah was really justified that we did this in the Gemara. It appears in two places. Once it's a killer wife, you're not supposed to marry her. So but Judah didn't tell her that. He just was dishonest with her. He said, Judah, so now the Pasuk says, Vayomer Yehuda Tamar Kala, so Shvi Almana Beis Avich, remain as a widow in the house of your father, Ad Yigdal Shela B'ni, until Shela, my son, will grow older. Ki Amar Pen Yamus Gam Hu Kalchav Vatelch Vatamar Vatesha Beis Avich. Now Judah was justified, Colby, to a little degree, because he doesn't know that God's arranging this. How's he supposed to know? So he said, wait until you get older, remain as a widow, and then maybe he'll die like his brothers. And so Tamar went and she sat there. But Rashi says, she was pushing her off with straw. He never intended to marry her. He was just pushing her off. This was just a pretext. And he said it to himself. He didn't tell her that. He just said it to himself. This woman was established as a killer. But there's a big question here. The No W. Yehuda asked the question, how is that going to solve anything? When she gets older, it'll be the same problem. So that's why Rashi has to say this was not a genuine argument. Because if he really intended to push her off, then he would push her off forever. Not even when she got older. So here the No W. Yehuda says what I was going to say. Listen to it. Who's the No W. Yehuda? He was the chief rabbi of Prague, like probably the 18th century, be my guess. So the No W. Yehuda says it's prohibited to marry a woman who's a katlanis, this killer wife, the black widow Elon, because of a danger. But there's one way in which it's permitted. When are you allowed to marry a katlanis, this woman who's a killer wife? There's one reason why it's permitted. That is if you're doing it for Yibum. Remember what Yibum is? Why is she considered a dangerous wife? Jeff asked. Because the Pasuk tells us that they were killed because Jeff says, why is she considered a dangerous wife? It says explicitly that they died because Hashem killed them. She says, yeah. But we didn't know that. Judah didn't know that. We know that. So you just saw this woman who marries and these two young guys die suddenly. That seems like the definition of the killer wife. Stay away from this woman. She's bad news, right? Like that's what you might have thought. So they were thinking that. So, but now the No W. Yehuda makes the pshat perfectly in the pasuk because he says like this: for the purpose of Yibum, it's permitted because a shomer mitzvah lo yedad havara. So that's why if you're doing Yibum, then you can marry this killer wife because you're doing a mitzvah. What's Yibum? Yibum is if the man dies and he has no children, so his brother marries the wife. So even though she was a killer wife, you can marry for a mitzvah. Because if you're doing a mitzvah, then nothing bad will happen to you. But that's only, Yibum is only once you have to become an adult. You can't do Yibum This is a big problem in Israel sometimes, whereas the case of chalitza and the person is a minor, you can't do it. And so therefore, Tamar was this katlanis, and so therefore Judah say, wait until you're an adult, and then we'll do the yibum. That's the brilliance of the Noda of Yehuda. Okay, he gave the answer. He answered my question. Okay, so now we're up to the next verse. Okay, verse 12. Vayirbu ayamim, and the days increased. Vatamat bashua Eshes Yehuda, and the daughter of Shua died, the wife of Judah. Vayinacham Yehuda, and Judah was comforted. Hold on, Jeff's adding something. Oh, he does. Jeff cites from Ramban, who says that Judah must have known. Judah must have known that it's unreasonable to say that Judah did not hear about how his children sinned against God. Why is that unreasonable? I don't know. I think it's pretty reasonable. How do you know what God had in mind? What
Well,
are
in
you
the
saying,
second,
Jeff?
in the stuff in italics, it's which is the commentary on it. It says that he did not hear. So
Well,
the first sentence is a little confusing.
that's commenting Rashi. It says Ramban raises two questions against Rashi. It's obvious that Judah did care to have Tamar in the family. I don't know. I don't know who that commentary is. That's somebody on Safari. I'm adding something in, obviously. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, I don't know. So, okay, but this is the interesting verse that I was telling you about, Dan. So he says he went up, the days increased, and the daughter of Shua died, the wife of Judah, and Judah was comforted, and he went up to shear the sheep. He and Chira his friend. So this is, Dan, this is the first time in the entire Torah that the word Re'eu appears, his friend. Never appears before that. The first time it appears is about Chira's friend. Nobody else has a friend before this. And he went up to Timnah. Timnah appears also in last week's parasha. Timnah was the Pilegesh of Eliphaz. So it appears again. Timnah is the Pilegesh of Eliphaz. So now here it's appearing again. So
does the word chaver ever appear in the Chumash or the Tanakh?
I'm sure it appears in Tanakh, but in the 5 books of the Torah, just do a search. But I don't remember it in the 5 books. We know Chaver Akeni, but as you mean as like
no, I mean friend. Like the word Re'eh.
I don't know.
Appears in Tehillim and in Proverbs.
There you go. So those are the 2 of him. The later writings, the poetry. But here's the word for friend. Okay, so he says stay. Okay, so now we'll go to the next pasuk. It says Vayugad Tamar lemor, and it was told to Tamar saying, Hinei chamich ola timnos ola goes to know. Your father-in-law has gone up to Timnah to shear his sheep. Rashi points out by Samson it says he went down to Timnah, and here it says he went up to Timnah. So why the 2 different languages? So Rashi tells us Timnah was on the slant of a mountain, the slope of a mountain. You went up it on one side and you go down on the other. That's the Gemara in Sota. What? Okay. What? Of course, he never makes anything up. Rashi would never make it up. When Rashi makes something up, he tells you. He says when he makes it up, he says, Libi nota, he says, Kimduni. He said he never when he makes it up, he tells you. Rashi actually always cites his right? Whenever it's not like the classic Midrash, Rashi cites his source and says where he got it from. If he says, oh, like Rabbi Moshe Darshan, or he says, I saw it in the book Menachem, or he says, I heard from Rabbi Yitzchak in the first Rashi on the Torah, but he never tells us, he never just makes it up. Okay, let's stop here. I mean, you'll be here in a minute. We'll start here.
Rob, does
Yes.
Rashi ever have his like own ideas, or does he always quote from?
No,